here for your soul. Hold on, here we go. Before we get any deeper than we already can go, what's going on? It's your boy Porkchop. Still trying to find my voice on 83. I think it's on 83 somewhere, but we're going to get to it. Dr. Santalise is on the phone with me via the school board, baby.
That's right. It's always good to be with you, Porkchop.
I
Always.
love you so much. Love you so much.
Usual.
And definitely praying for everything for the school year. This is going to be the best school year ever.
Yes, absolutely. That's what we've got celebrations going on all across the city, and schools are having open houses and ice cream socials and parents, and families, a view of the classrooms and what school's going to feel like. So we are ready. The energy is rising every day.
For somebody that just came from under a rock, can you tell them, what do you do, Dr. Santalise?
Oh my goodness, what do I do? So I get to do ribbon cuttings on new schools like we did today. I got a chance to address all of our teachers whose first day back was on Monday. And so big shout out to all our teachers who are back and at schools and getting ready for kids. I talked to our teacher of the year, Sydney Thomas, a couple of days ago. She said to me, Dr. S, my classroom is set. So as long as my classroom is ready, everything else is going to flow. And that's part of it. A lot of what we're doing now with our Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Washington, and our fabulous operations team is making sure all the buildings are ready, all the systems are in place, all the safety measures that Porkchop we've had in place since the spring are still in place, making sure that, just young people and families feel what I've been hearing from teachers and principals and everybody, that they are ready to welcome our scholars back. And it's been great out in the community, talking to people who have been giving me kind of feedback on some of what they hope we're going to have ready for kids who are coming from a lot. This was a rough 19 months for a lot of our young people, Porkchop. So, making sure we're in the right place to listen, kind of help them through that socially and emotionally, as well as all of the academics that, we know is still going to be a focus, but making sure our young people are reconnected. So it's exciting, and much more exciting than looking at budgets and doing other meetings, which is the other piece of stuff that I do. I also do. But my most fun, my most enjoyable part of this job is still being out with families, students, and in schools.
For the other people that's been under the other rock, school starts this Monday, right?
Right. Monday, August 30th, bright and early. Make sure you check in with your school so you know exactly what time your school starts, because there are different school times, start times, but bright and early Monday morning. Absolutely.
Bright and early. What time will you be at work Monday?
Oh, you mean after being up until 3 a.m., not being able to sleep? I probably will be up by 5:30 for first day of school.
I love first day of school because it's fresh, it's new. You get to go into another classroom and see. Like, I'm a big kid. I love the teachers that put everything on the walls and all the things in the corners. It's just an energy about going to school for the first day and starting a new year that, gives something the jitters in me.
Agreed. And I tell everybody, when you're an educator or a schools person, we have 2 New Years, right? So we have the one on January 1st that, everybody shouts out, but our first day of school, that's our New Year too. So yeah, I'm excited too, Porkchop.
Will everybody be going in person this year?
So that's a great question. The vast majority of our students will be coming back in person. We do have a small number of families and students, Porkchop, that opted for our new virtual learning academy.
Okay.
And so those families know they've been accepted. We've got staff on board who will be virtual staff, and that's about 1,500 to 1,700.
Okay.
Be there, but the vast majority of Baltimore City Public School students will be in person for Monday.
Okay. And how have the mentality for the students been so far? How they feeling?
Well, I will tell you, I thought the big question was going to be how do we get young people back? But I've met students who, might have been kind of so-so about school before who are like, look, I'm ready to come back. So
Right.
young people are ready to come back. I think what we also know is that socialization for some of them is going to be hard because, sitting at home, and we know as adults, sitting at home on a Zoom is not the same as being back in a classroom. So we're going to have
Right.
to be patient with students for that. We have students whose families have been through a lot. Like I've lost family members over the last 19 months. And
Yeah.
I know that kind of grief, that challenge, we're going to have to be ready to create space for. And then we have young people who are like coming back and want, to see the sports and the arts and want that time to be able to express themselves because that's almost a healing experience too. So
Yeah.
making sure that those things are in place. But I think our young people are ready. We have really just been focusing on being ready for them and being
Hmm.
give them the space to just reacclimate to school. Like, Porkchop, we have first graders that are coming this year that have only been in school in person for like 4 months, right? Like
Yeah.
they came in pre-K, came for 3 months, did the second half of pre-K and all of kindergarten online, and now they're walking in as first graders, right?
My son.
Oh, your son?
My
Oh,
son is going to first grade. Yeah, it's different. It's very different for him.
yeah, because he's like, well, wait a minute, what happened to the block area? And I want more time, right, in the water table. And so
Right.
we're gonna have to be patient with our little people.
Yeah.
Just, are gonna need a little more like love and care, which we should be giving anyway, but they're gonna need that space to be active. I stopped by Upton Boxing one day and
Mhm.
got to see like 9 and 10-year-olds out doing their exercises and getting ready.
Right.
A couple of the leaders there turned to me and said, "Are you ready for all this energy that's coming back?"
Yeah.
So I think that's what our young people are bringing, and they're bringing their hopes and dreams like they always have. But we've got to be sensitive to where they're coming from.
You had brought up sports. How is that really going to look with the football, baseball, basketball? Everybody close net and
Yes.
touching each other.
Yeah.
No, like football, that's a contact
It
sport.
is. It is. So, Pork Chop, I will start out by saying
Uh-huh.
all families and students who are playing sports, please, please get vaccinated. And part of why I want to encourage people to really look into getting vaccinated is because that is still the single best weapon, for lack of a better term, we have against this virus. And
Right.
the way that it plays out in sports teams goes a lot to what you were saying, Pork Chop. So our fall sports have begun. I was really committed. I got so many emails from student athletes over the last 2 years.
Mhm.
So we were committed to starting. Our coaches were committed. We do have measures in place, particularly for outdoor sports. We know outdoors is much safer.
Right.
So we've got precautions there. But where there are cases and players are not vaccinated, we
Mhm.
are having to quarantine, which is why we have some examples of that already, like a football team. Um,
Okay.
our high schools at Dunbar had an overwhelming majority, like 78 players, that had to quarantine.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm really stressing Pork Chop, where the only players that didn't have to quarantine were those
Uh-huh.
who were vaccinated. So we're still going through our safety protocols. There'll be masking for indoor sports, but we are committed to running sports. Our coaches are there. They're fabulous as usual. But to help kind of, help mitigate against having too many mad quarantines, we're going to need to really push vaccination with our players.
Heidi just checked in. She said, what about the after school programs with mask in space?
Great question, Heidi. Our after school programs will still be adhering to the masking guidelines and the spacing guidelines that we are, following and have been following since spring. So, we follow CDC. We check in with our health commissioner, Dr. D, and our health advisory group. So those same precautions during the day are going to carry over to our after-school programs.
And she also asked earlier, a minute ago, what is virtual learning costing anything?
So virtual learning does not cost anything to families. So that's really important. It doesn't cost families. We, as the school system, used some of the federal recovery dollars
Okay.
were given to local school districts. We used those dollars to really stand up our virtual learning program. So we hadn't planned for it in our budget, but that's one thing that the federal dollars have allowed us to do is to stand up the virtual learning program. But it is no cost to families.
Is it? We talked about vaccinations for the sports players and students. What about the teachers? Do they have a protocol to be vaccinated?
So as of right now, and this has been the case since the spring, staff who are not vaccinated must participate in our weekly testing. And you probably know Porkchop, Baltimore City was one of the first school districts in the nation to have weekly testing, and it's what helped us keep folks safe. We're reviewing that policy now. Because now that the FDA has approved vaccinations, we're looking at, can we move further? We're talking with some of our union partners. But I think an important thing for the public to know is that as of like the end of June, we had just about 80% of Baltimore City public school teachers were fully vaccinated.
Good.
90% of Baltimore City public school principals were fully vaccinated.
Wow.
And so we already, even before the FDA approved the Pfizer vaccine, had large numbers. Overwhelming majority of city school staff is vaccinated, but we'll definitely keep folks updated on that.
Before I ask you another question, don't forget, y'all, back to school Monday. You need any information, go to www.baltimorecitysschools.org/back to school. I'm on with Dr. Santley's. I'm sorry, it's my throat. I say your name 100 times. I know how to say it.
You just take care of that voice. Don't worry about
it. Do you have any message to share with the families for this coming school year?
Yes. And one of the things I want to say to families is make sure that you're keeping the excitement, kind of like Porkchop was leading us into, right? That our young people need to know that going back to school is an exciting thing, that we're going to work to keep them safe. So that's the first thing, is like keep the excitement, the readiness. Bedtimes are harder, even in my house. Like I, talked to my twins the other night about getting in bed a little earlier. They're like, "Are you kidding me?"
Right.
So the bedtimes still matter. Making sure that young people really, if have a good breakfast before they leave in the morning, or make sure you're at school in time to get breakfast, because all of our schools serve breakfast. So you can at home, just make sure you come to school and you can have breakfast there. So those things. And then also for families, know that we are keeping some of the most, I would say, we were talking to some folks from Hopkins the other day. We still have in Baltimore City some of the more robust COVID mitigation strategies in place. We have high levels of vaccination, but if you have any questions about those protocols, please talk to your school principal. Any question at all about masking, all young people will be required, as well as staff and adults. Even here at North Avenue, we all have indoor masking, so that will be required. But just want to really encourage families that what we found is that the young people who returned to school really re-engaged in the spring. They did better. We know so many young people do better in person. So really just want to encourage families to make sure that they're getting their young people and being excited about school and supporting kids is really important.
Heidi back up with another question. Big Heidi, hey, you on the ball, Heidi.
Heidi is on the ball.
Yeah. What time does virtual learning start Monday? Does it start the same time as school start?
So the virtual learning programs will each have, because we do have K-8, kindergarten through 8th grade, as well as high school. And
Okay.
I would say the same thing, Heidi, to you. Make sure you check with your school's principals, because we do have principals over the virtual learning programs. I don't know offhand, but it's the same piece. You should actually go there and connect with your school's principals or teachers, just to see what exactly the starting time for virtual schools will be.
Will schools provide masks for students if they don't have any?
Yes, if a student comes and does not have a mask, the school will absolutely have masks available for any young person. I will say, real shout out to all of our families, Pork Chop, because what
Mhm.
we're seeing is that families really are kind of stepping up and making sure that students are coming with masks. But be assured, if your young person is like I was this morning at Starbucks, I walked into Starbucks, Pork Chop, forgot my mask.
Uh-uh.
And
Come
they,
on now.
can you imagine the CEO of the school system didn't have a mask on? And
Mm-mm.
young lady behind the counter was like, "We have some here if you forgot it." And so it'll be the same thing in schools. If you
Right.
get your mask and you don't have one, we will make sure that your student gets a mask.
This is definitely going to be a special year for 3 grades to me: fifth
Mhm.
grade, eighth grade, and 12th grade, because they are the ones that get to start over and see how the school is going to be, because they're leaving their schools after this year, to see how it's going to start again.
I know. I
You
know.
know?
And really, but you're absolutely right. And look at you, Pork Chop. You know those transition grades.
Hey man, listen, I'm Coppin State University.
That's right. I know that's right. Shout out to Coppin State, right?
Man. I was gonna ask this what it was. I want to make sure I ask you this question about parents, students, and teachers. It seemed like through COVID, parents got not a taste, but they kind of saw what it is to be a teacher in some way, shape, or form. So hopefully that bridge about, the bad words that people used to say, like, you don't send your kids to school to be babysitting. It ain't no daycare. Hopefully parents now get to see what their teachers be going through, and this will be a smooth year, a better year for the bridge of parents and teachers.
No, and I'm really hopeful for that too, Pork Chop. And I will tell you, we had kind of an opening session I told you about with teachers
Mhm.
on Monday. And one of the things that was great when you saw the comments about teachers' hopes and dreams for the year, so much of the comments teachers were surfacing, I'd say the overwhelming majority, were about just that connection, Pork Chop,
Yeah,
about wanting to make sure that they had relationships with students, relationships with families. And I do agree with you, and Heidi does too, as she did
yeah.
the shout out, right? That this is a real opportunity to partner in ways that we haven't. I will tell you personally, as a mom, I am ready for my children to be back with teachers. I was a teacher, and I have a new appreciation for teachers.
What did you teach?
I taught middle school humanities, and at that time it was English and social studies.
Go ahead now. Go
Yeah,
on.
something, something. Little
Go
something.
on. Like I feel like this should be a big year for PTA as well.
Absolutely. And one of the great kind of silver linings to the last year, Pork Chop, is what we saw was unprecedented family involvement in just more information and feedback. And I got to tell you, it's because of the virtual setting. We had thousands more families logging in to town meetings, to information sessions. Even as a mom, I got for the first time to get text messages from my kids' teachers, and they would update me and say, "I don't think Francesca's logged on yet. Can you make
Right.
sure?" Right, and I could run downstairs and make sure she had logged on. So that kind of bridge we really want to strengthen. Chief Tina Hike Hubbard in our Family Community Engagement Office, we're doing a lot more online because families told us virtual is just more convenient, right?
Mhm.
I can access, and we saw it in the numbers. We saw it in the numbers and the quality of our exchanges with families. And so we really do want to keep that up. We
I'm
really,
not gonna lie, my daughter is in 10th grade this year, and through COVID and virtual, she became a straight A student
wow.
at home.
Yes,
Because my wife was right there, like, you better. It's different when your mother
it
is
is.
right there.
It is different. Well, see, that's because your wife was right there. For my kids,
Right.
like, yeah, my mom's the CEO and she only checked in on me, right?
Right.
30 or when the teacher texts. But you know what, Porkchop? That's why we have the virtual learning program.
Right.
Because we heard that from families who said, this actually worked better for my child than the in-person. And so we wanted to be able to give families an option to continue that success. But yes, your daughter's not alone, but shout out to her.
Yeah, she all right. She thinks her birthday in 2 weeks. She think you're getting something.
Oh, look at you.
Over.
You just
I do have one great serious question about the schools cleaning. What about the cleaning of the schools for the kids to come back?
Yes, and I will again a shout out to our custodial team. Shout out just to our maintenance crew. One of the things that really we made adjustments to during the pandemic was just how we deploy cleaning supplies, how we support and add to custodians in school buildings. And then in the case of some schools, and I'm only saying that because we did a ribbon cutting both today and on Tuesday. There are some young people like students at Patterson High who are coming back to brand new buildings that are just the art, right? And so they left with, a ceiling over here, no air conditioning, kind of 40, 50-year-old facilities, right? That really are harder to keep clean because they're so old. So between the new facilities and our investments in kind of centralizing supplies, which principals told us really helped them keep up versus a school having to make sure they had all the supplies. Their budget, we centralized a lot of that Porkchop. So we're really pleased with the progress we've made in the clean buildings. But as always, if parents see something, say something, right? Say something to your principal, call our hotline and let us know. But the operations team has really just been doing outstanding work throughout the pandemic to make sure that the learning spaces are clean and sanitized.
Thank you so much. Monday morning, you getting your butt up at 2 a.m. to start that day.
Absolutely.
I can't wait, man. Please, parents, do yourself a favor. And like today, make sure your kids start going back to sleep at a schedule, because you don't want to wait till Sunday and they won't get up. And for all the students, you know how we used to do, put them clothes out. Then they're getting up early. Yeah. Back to school. It's going to be the greatest school year ever, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Porkchop. Thanks for helping us get the word out. And everyone who's listening, you all are so good to us at 92Q. So I appreciate it.
You know we love you over here, man. We love you. And if you need me to do anything, pop up at a school for any event or whatever, just let me know. I'm right there.
Absolutely. You know we will. But I appreciate it.
I ain't going to charge you that much.
I'm going to hold you to that. That's on the recording. Is that on the recording?
Yes. Have a great day and have a great school year.
Thank you so much, sir. You too. Always good to see you.